Good morning. Welcome to June the 5th, 2024 meeting of Chesterfield County Council. It's 9 a.m., so I'll call this meeting to order. At this time, I'll call on Councilman Mr. Eddie Rivers, if he will, to open with a prayer and then followed by a pledge of allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would you please join me in prayer? Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day you've given us. Thank you for the opportunity we have to serve you and the citizens of Chesterfield County. Lord, as we gather here this morning, we ask that you will be in our presence. And we pray that everything that we say and do will be pleasing and acceptable in your sight. And as we discuss the business before us this morning, we ask that you will lead and guide us in the way that you would want us to do. Lord, we thank you for all of our council members. We thank you for the service they provide to our citizens. We thank you for our employees and the job that they do in delivering the goods and services to the citizens of Chesterfield County. Lord, when we have concluded the business before us this day, we ask that you would give us safe passage back to our respective homes. And as always, we ask that you forgive us of our many shortcomings. These things we ask in your precious name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. Councilman Miller was going to try to join us today, but something went amiss with his oxygen equipment, and he wasn't able to join us. But y'all continue to remember him if you don't mind, please. Before we adopt the agenda, it's come to my attention that there's a need to amend the agenda. Would you please explain, Mr. Ruffner?
Yes, sir. There are two items that need to be amended. One is item 12C needs to be stricken. That was the bid award for gravel-based material. There was only one bid received for that, and my understanding is the Transportation Committee would prefer to rebid that to see if we don't get additional bids, perhaps more competitive and a better price. So that would be stricken. We would add a 12C on that, in place of that item, for the sale of fill material, excess fill material. I guess that would be the appropriate word. Mr. Eubanks have to chime in on that. At the Lynch's River Industrial Park site. And there would need to be a finding of exigent circumstances, and that would be the fact that that material is taking up space. There's other material being moved at the same time, and now would be the optimum time to do that. And if that's not done now, we may miss an opportunity that may not be there in the future. So with that said, we would need to add that item to the agenda, and again, with the finding of exigent circumstances, since action will be taken by council on that item.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the motion carries. If there are no corrections or deletions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our May the 1st, 2024 meeting.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Minutes are approved. I think the bonds are going around to be signed. So we move down to item 6, appointments. Ms. Jane Pig.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Last weekend, I planted my window boxes because I have window boxes across the back of the porch, and I do pansies in the winter and periwinkle or vinca in the summer. And it makes me feel so good when I come out the door and that's the first thing I see, all these pretty flowers. And when I come home in the afternoon, I see these pretty flowers. And our county is the same way. When we're riding around and we see a pretty landscape, doesn't it make you feel good? So our county litter cleanup this year was very, very good. When we announced what we were doing, some of the towns went ahead and started their cleanup then, so we had participation from every town in the county. I'd also like to mention that there were 3 mayors that I know of participated, and there may be others, and we had 8 town council people, and I'm sure there were many others that participated in the cleanup. So the once-a-year cleanup went really, really well. Our Lieutenant Governor, Ms. Paula Evett, she said that next year, she is a big supporter of Palmetto Pride. And she said that if we can get a date for her, she would love to come up and pick up litter with us next year. So I would like to encourage you to talk about going ahead and setting a date, and then we can extend an invitation to her, because it would be really nice to have her here. It would certainly make for some good publicity for the county. A couple things I would like to mention to you. We want to say some special thanks to Cheraw Public Works, because as you know, the mattress on the PD River Bridge, that was removed by Cheraw Public Works. And also on our litter day, they removed a mattress at the corner of a 4-mile loop and Highway 52 at the truck route. There were 5 bags of trash that had been put out there with them. And we really felt like we would be able to get some identifying information. So our litter officer for the county sent some officers over to go through, went through. There was not a single identifying piece of trash in there, just bags of trash, but no names. So, but we're working on that. We're trying to promote the fact that people can report litter. There is a Litter Busters hotline that individuals can call, and we're trying to be a little more diligent on that. Also, Representative Richie Yao and his son RJ, they removed a recliner couch off of Auction Barn Road, where someone had just put a recliner couch right on the side of the road, and it was in the right-of-way too. I mean, you couldn't, if you'd had to pull off right then, you would have run right over it. So thank you all for your support. We will do everything that we can to continue cleaning up the county. We've got a lot of good going on. Our schools are wonderful. People are moving into the county, and we certainly don't want their first impression to be that of trash. We want to have a nice county. We want it to look green and beautiful, and we will do everything we can to help. And thank you all for everything you do. We don't have a final total. Our numbers are still climbing on the number of bags and the total number of persons. I don't want to leave anyone out, but we will be making a report to Palmetto Pride to let them know the success of our countywide campaign. Does anyone have any questions?
I'd just like to say thank you for your assistance with our litter pickup, and we appreciate the ongoing efforts that you have to try to keep our county litter-free, and we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And just as a side note, my wife and I picked up a road the other day during the litter pickup, and I promise you, I went by a week later, and you couldn't hardly tell where we'd picked up. It's just amazing that what people will do.
Unfortunately, that is, yeah, that just makes you sick, doesn't it?
But thank you again. We do appreciate your efforts.
Thank you so much. It's ongoing.
Thank you for all you do. Do a great job.
Okay, we'll move down to item 7, public comments. And as always, before we ask for public comments, while we welcome all comments, public comments should be limited to 4 minutes per speaker and 20 minutes per any subject. Is there anyone that wishes to address council? Yes, sir. Sure. Please give your name.
My name is Brent Taylor. I want to say, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to address the council this morning. And I want to address, within my 4 minutes, something that we all have in common in this room, and that is serving the residents and the citizens of Chesterfield County. In regards to the Chesterfield County Coroner's Office, I believe that I can speak on behalf of all of the death care professionals within our county, and stating that the importance on our end to be able to contact any coroner, deputy coroner, anyone associated with the coroner's office 24/7 is of vital importance to our business in serving families. In the death care industry, as you're well aware, death does not take a holiday, it does not take a weekend, and we have to be there for our families during that time. It is of utmost importance that we have accessibility and the ability to contact the coroner's office for an electronic VRT, or an electronic death certificate. And I'm asking you today to respectfully consider our limitations in serving families and the importance of being able to receive the documents we have. I've just recently been appointed by Governor McMaster to serve my second term on the State Board of Funeral Service. And every meeting that I have the opportunity to sit in, it's disheartening to hear the sanctions and discipline that's placed on funeral homes and funeral directors and owners because of a lack of doing their due diligence, because of a lack of doing what we're governed by the rules and regulations of this state. Part of that is not being able to contact. And I ask you today to consider for any of the funeral homes that we need to be able to contact and have our accessibility, not just Monday through Friday, but on weekends as well. And I know I'm limited in my time, but I would welcome any of you to speak with me or my wife or anyone at our business outside of here. Please contact me. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. And I want to say, on behalf of every funeral home here in our county, we are blessed to represent some of the greatest people in South Carolina, but also I want you to know that our state sees and appreciates and recognizes what we have in our coroner's office to be able to have the quick turnaround and to be able to have the needs that we have to serve families. And for that, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. Thank you for all you do. May God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address council? Hearing none, we'll move down to item 8A, public hearing on the Walmart fee in lieu of ordinance. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to address council on this ordinance? No one wish to address council. I'll assume the same two will make the motion to second to close the public hearing.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing is now closed. We'll move down to item 8B, which is the ordinance for the 24-25 Cash Rural Fire Department ordinance public hearing. Is there a motion to open the public hearing? A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to address council on this? No one wish to address council. I'll assume the same two will make the motion and the second to close the hearing. Yes, sir. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the public hearing is now closed. We'll move down to item 8C. This is a public hearing regarding the 24-25 Harris Creek Rural Fire Department ordinance. Is there a motion to open the public hearing? Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to address council on this ordinance? Hearing none, I assume the same two will make the motion and second to close the public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, public hearing is now closed. We'll move down to item 8D. This is public hearing regarding the 24-25 Alligator Rural Fire Department Budget Ordinance. Is there a motion to open the public hearing? Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Here, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to address the council on this ordinance? Hearing none, I assume the same two will make the motion and second to close it. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing is now closed. We'll move down to item 8E. This is a public hearing regarding our 24-25 general fund budget ordinance. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to address council on this ordinance? Hearing none, I assume the same two will make the motion and second to close the hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Okay, we'll move down to item 9A. This is third reading on the Walmart fee in lieu of ordinance. Is there a motion to approve third reading?
So
Have
moved.
a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We'll move down to item 9B. This is the 24-25 Cash Rural Fire Department Budget Ordinance, third reading. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We'll move down to item 9C. This is the 24-25 Harris Creek Rural Fire Department Budget Ordinance, third reading. Is there a motion by Mr. Conklin, second by Ms. Burns. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. So we'll move down to item 9D. This is the 24-25 Alligator Rural Fire Department Budget Ordinance, third reading. Is there a motion? Have a motion by Mr. Conklin, second by Mr. Curtis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We'll move down to item 9E. This is the 24-25 General Fund Budget Ordinance, third reading. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Burns, second by Mr. Smallwood. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Let me stop right there one second and say thank you to all the people that were on the Budget Committee, the council people that attended, and also to our staff. We thank you for your hard work in that. That's quite an undertaking. Okay, we'll move down to item 9F. This is GO Bond Ordinance, second reading. Is there a motion to approve the second reading?
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Anderson, second by Mr. Smallwood. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, we'll move down to item 9G. This ordinance authorizing the purchase of property from and sale of property to the town of Chesterfield. This is second reading. Is there a motion? A motion by Mr. Ford, second by Mr. Conklin. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, we'll move down to 9H, Norris Ordinance Amendment, first reading by title only. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Conklin, second by Ms. Anderson. Is there any discussion?
Clarification.
Yes, sir.
The purpose of the amendment?
I'll tell you, while we're doing this.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, well, because right now codes Department is in charge of noise violations or the noise ordinance. And we want to move that to the Sheriff's Department. We don't feel like that's, in the best interest of codes and the best for our citizens.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the motion carries. Okay, we move down to 9I, emergency ordinance declaring temporary moratorium on the issue of permits for establishment of mobile home parks and subdivisions. Is that first reading or?
That is a renewal of that ordinance.
that's right.
And we will discuss that, the reason for that further down in item 12B.
Okay, is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Conklin, second by Mr. Smallwood. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, we move down to 9J, the State Insurance Benefit Programs Resolution. Is there an explanation, Mr. Ruffin?
That is something that South Carolina Public Benefit Authority, better known as PBA, has distributed to all counties and municipalities throughout the state. If council wants to continue, as they always have, they will adopt a resolution stating that council members are to be considered active employees, meaning they can participate in the state insurance program. And just for information, that means they would be treated like any other employee. If they chose to participate in that, that amount of that cost would come out of their check. And frankly, with the princely sum you guys are paid to serve on this, if you elect to get family coverage, I suspect you have to pay money back to the county to avail yourself of that. So I just wanted to put that out there so there's no misunderstanding that council's being treated any differently than anybody else.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution? Motion by Mr. Conklin, second by Ms. Burns. Any further discussion?
This isn't obligating us to use them, though, right? I mean, this is just for council.
Yes, this is just, it says you can.
It's an option.
Want to.
Okay, gotcha.
Required to, absolutely not.
I just want to make sure.
In other words, you're gonna pay for it if you use it. It's not
Correct.
something they're giving you.
Right.
Correct, it's again, that the council would be treated as would any other employee if you chose to obtain that coverage.
We've been doing this for the last 30 years.
Yes, this is not changing anything. This is, for whatever reason, this has been sent out all over the state.
Right.
I guess to clarify and make sure, that the various councils around the state will continue to do this or change it if they're not doing it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay, we'll move down to item 9K, Capital Project Sales Tax Commission Resolution. Mr. Ruffner?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Ford had proposed some discussion of a 1% sales tax referendum as a possible mechanism to fund the detention center, which is something that council is looking at doing. For counties, the only option to do that is under what's called the Capital Project Sales Tax Act. And that sets forth a procedure for the appointment of a commission. There's a formula in the statute. Based on that formula, the council appoints 3 members. In this case, Sherrall would appoint 1 member. Those 4 members would then appoint the other 2 members who would have to be from municipalities within the county. And that commission then works to come up with the referendum question, which is then sent back to council. And through passage of an ordinance, that referendum question is placed on the agenda, or on the ballot in the general election for approval or disapproval by the voters. I won't get into the merits of that. That might be for another time. At this point, though, what we're looking at is that council, as a first step, pass a resolution to create that commission. And I would say very quickly, council needs to think and perhaps schedule a meeting to appoint their 3 members to that commission to get that going. And by way of clarification, the 3 members that are appointed to that commission cannot be office holders of any type. This, under South Carolina law, is considered an office itself. So in other words, council members or town council members are not eligible to serve on it. It has to be other citizens who are not office holders. So if we can probably spend a lot of time on this. Again, not getting into the merits of it, but the basics is it would be a sales tax of 1%. That would generate funds. In the case of this project or this sales tax, it can only be imposed for a maximum of 8 years, after which point it would have to be either voted on and renewed again, or it would stop. But the theory behind the suggestion for this is that rather than having to raise millage as the sole source to fund the new detention center, this would provide perhaps enough revenue to pay for it on its own. Certainly understand that part of that would be coming from the citizens of the county, but it would be coming from other places too. Some from folks that aren't even citizens of Chesterfield County. So again, I'm not trying to get into the merits of that today, but this would be a first step to the creation of that commission, which would then go on to formulate the ballot question. So I'll be glad to try to answer any questions. I suspect we'll be having another special meeting on this later on, and we'll be glad to answer questions then if we want to spend more time on it.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Conklin, second by Mr. Burns. Any further discussion?
I'd like to speak on it. As much as it pains me to even consider the fact that citizens have already been taxed to death, we're at a point in Chesterfield County where our detention center is awful. It's awful for the inmates. It's awful for the staff. It's my opinion. I think we're lucky to have it open. So Chesterfield County, especially in the Paisley End, is really, really growing. And we're over capacity now at the detention center. And we're at a point we're gonna have to fund it. We're gonna have to fund this project, and that's my opinion. And by funding this project, it can only really come from 2 ways that I know of, and I could be wrong. But it's increased millage, which is only going to affect property owners. Or you could do a penny sales tax. And if there's any other option that council would like to say, I'm more than willing to listen to anything, because I'm definitely not the smartest one in here. But at the end of the day, I think that on a project like this, a penny sales tax could help spread the cost of this project across not only the property owners, but other people who visit this county. Because a lot of the people who we're putting in jail are not just local citizens. So if there's another option out there, by all means, I'll listen to anything. It pains me to talk about raising taxes, but this is a project that's gonna have to be funded, and this is the only way it makes sense. I think it's gonna be up to the community to educate each other about why we're having to look at this. And this money is not for any other project other than specifically the detention center and nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Resolution carries. Okay, move down to the no standing committee reports. Nothing submitted by council. We move down to item 12A, surplus property from the Sheriff's Department. Ms. Stanley?
Yes, sir. The Sheriff's Department has requested that council declare the two attached vehicles as surplus so that they may be removed from inventory, and then the monies of the sale would go back into the Sheriff's Department's vehicle account.
Okay. Y'all have heard that request. Is there a motion to accept this request? Motion by Mr. Conklin, second by Mr. Curtis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Move down to item 12B, zoning ordinance amendments. Mr. Ruffin, would you explain that, please, sir?
Yes, sir. First, apologize to council and Madam Clerk for the size of this, this item in the agenda. I think it required the packet to be separated into 3 separate emails, so I'm sorry about that. But I did want to make sure that, that all council members and any member of the public that gets that and looks at it has all the information. So I wanted to include all of it. The Planning and Zoning Committee has been meeting a lot and working really hard on the issue of mobile home parks and subdivisions. At its last meeting, at the request of the Codes Enforcement Director, it was decided that mobile home parks, which will now be referred to as manufactured home parks, be added to a section of the zoning ordinance which requires some specific standards for certain land uses. For example, included in that are solar projects, more than 1 acre, tiny homes, tiny home developments, RV parks and campgrounds, and a number of other uses that we feel, or that council felt when the zoning ordinance was passed, needed some extra scrutiny before they're approved. Adding it to that section means that prior to approval, it would have to go before the Board of Zoning Appeals and be approved prior to a permit being issued for a manufactured home park. There are also some other relatively minor changes in the zoning ordinance, as a result of the work that the committee has done. With regard to a zoning ordinance, and this is in the zoning ordinance material that I sent you, anytime an amendment is proposed, be it by council or any other person or entity, that has to be sent to the Planning Commission. They then have 30 days to review and make a recommendation back to council as to that proposed amendment, and then council, after the expiration of that 30 days, can vote to approve or not approve that amendment. So what will happen is this would go to the Planning Commission, it'll come back to council. We'll have to have a separate ordinance for the zoning ordinance amendment, and then we will get that on the same timeline as our other ordinance amendments regarding subdivisions and manufactured home parks, have those passed at the same time. So, and that goes back to the reason we had to renew the emergency ordinance, because that was expiring, I believe, within the next day or so. So we had to have some extra time to get this done, and then come back, pass this ordinance along with the other changes to the subdivision and manufactured home park ordinance. So I hope that makes some sense and has some clarity. Be glad to try to answer any questions. But that committee has worked really hard, and Codes has worked really hard on getting this done.
Thank you, Mr. Ruffin.
One clarification, if I may. Mr. Rutherford, now this does grandfather in any existing already permitted
Absolutely.
mobile home
Yes.
parks?
This doesn't change anything with regard to any existing use. This would only be with regard to any future applications.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve these amendments?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Conklin,
Second.
second by Ms. Anderson. Is there any further discussion?
Well, I just want to tell Mr. Ruffner thank you too, because you saw how voluminous our package was. And thanks to Codes and Mr. Ruffner and doing the heavy lifting of it. Our committee did work hard to go through it, but they did a lot of the work, and I appreciate them too.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And I too would like to thank this committee and the codes and the staff, because it was a tremendous amount of work. And thank you very much. Okay, we'll move down to item 12C. Mr. Eubanks is going to discuss the potential sale of some field material.
Yes, just to let you know where this material actually came from, when we were building our spec building at our industrial park, the material that wasn't needed was actually stockpiled on site next to the spec building. In the meantime, we were thinking we would use this material in other parts of the industrial park. We since then sold the site, and in doing so, the new owners actually had an addition to add on. They too had additional fill that was not needed, so they piled their material on top of our material, and which I thought ours was a big pile. They created about a 4 times bigger, larger pile than what we already had. Ms. Lear contacted me this week and said, you know, they're fixing to be in the process of moving their material and selling it. And I told her we need to check to make sure that the material's not needed elsewhere throughout the park. And she did so, and our engineers felt comfortable that this material would not be needed. So while the new business is in the process of moving theirs, I felt like it would be a good time, possibly because it's going to have to be bid, you know, we'll have to bid it out, but hopefully we would get a good bid on moving this material and a good price in doing so. So I'm asking y'all permission to move forward with moving this material.
Is there a motion to accept this recommendation by staff? Motion by Mr. Conklin, second by Mr. Curtis. Any further discussion?
Will the bids come back before us, or will that be decided by the administrator?
No, I would think that will have to come back to council.
Bid award.
That's correct. And in the meantime, I'm hoping that, you know, even Public Works, if they need some of this material, could possibly get their hands on it also too. Because I know Mr. McCarnes has asked numerous times that could he use some of that material, but we was holding up on it, so.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Unfinished business, I don't believe they're number 4. Let's go down to item 14, new business ARP funds. Mr. Eubanks?
Okay, if y'all recall, a couple meetings ago, Mr. Rivers actually brought up of getting the rescue squads some ARPA money that, you know, we were looking at giving them in the past. Since then, at that time, it was sent to finance to look at and everything. Finance has been right in the middle of budget the whole time, so it's kind of got pushed back. Since then, I had Mr. Arant to run some numbers of the number of calls and stuff like that went through the 911 system, and I actually have that now. I feel like, you know, that's something that we need to look at before handing this money out to the rescue squad. Some of them I feel like have really stepped up and everything. Also, with this ARPA money, we've got to obligate this money by the end of December of this year. So I feel like at that time, if you would, let's appoint this to a committee to look at, take on the rescue squads plus the remainder of the ARPA funds to obligate.
I think we'd best refer that back to, Ms. Burns, would your committee accept that responsibility? Jumped out of the grease right into the fire. Thank you.
Okay?
Okay, we'll move down.
Thank you, Ms. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. You on that committee.
I understand.
Okay, we'll move down to item 14B, PD Local Workforce Area Memorandum of Understanding. Mr. Ruffin?
Yes, sir. This is something that is required periodically between the various partners with the PD Local Workforce Area SC Works program or work system. what used to be known as unemployment, setting forth the various responsibilities of those partners. And I would recommend that council approve execution of that memorandum of understanding.
Is there a motion to accept this memorandum of understanding?
So moved.
Have a motion, have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Move down to item 14C, housing of municipal inmates. Mr. Eubanks?
Yes, in years past, we had an agreement basically, or with the towns that we are, in housing their inmates, we charging them. And basically what I'm asking here today is allow Mr. Ruffner to revise the agreement that we've had, because an example, the cost at that time was $12.50 per day per inmate, and we've since gone up to $50. There's also some more verbiage in here that probably needs to be corrected, and that we found out by statute that we don't feel like it's exactly right. So I'm asking that we allow Mr. Ruffner to revise the agreement that we have with our municipalities.
Now, once you revise that, will it come back?
It would, I mean, what I would propose we do is we do some type of MOU with all the municipalities rather than just send them a memorandum.
Okay, can I have a motion to turn this over to Mr. Ruffner to rewrite this memorandum of understanding and bring back to council? Is there a motion? A motion by Mr. Smallwood, second by Ms. Burns. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Move down to item 15, PD Workforce Development Board. We have to approve these every so often.
Correct.
Appointments to this board. So PD COG and myself would like to reappoint Mel West and also appoint Dr. Derek Rikers, and I apologize if I mispronounce that name. He is going to replace Dr. Kyle Wagner on this board. Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Anderson, second by Mr. Curtis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Move down to item 16, Mr. Eubanks.
Got a couple things just to let y'all know. I don't know if y'all have noticed it, but in front of the courthouse, the corner that y'all talked about years ago, allowing the veterans to turn that into a park there. Public Works has since cleared that corner off and grassed it and everything, and I think they did an outstanding job. I met with Representative Yao, Mayor Biddle back there, and Ms. Pam Mills, the director. Hopefully, with their help, they're going to design it with very little cost. And the reason being, we're going to be asking for a PARD grant to go in and hopefully help pretty that thing up for a veterans park. But that's something that I know Public Works did an outstanding job on, and John's kind of took the lead on this thing. But that's something I'm very proud of that our crowd pulled off themselves. So, with the help of the mayor and Representative Yao. The other thing to let y'all know that at one time we can type 3 CDBG grants. That being said, I think 2 of them's been tied up with fire departments and one with Hillian Edwards Road. Cash is fixing to be coming off here shortly. It's still occupying, and I think some paperwork's got to be done. Once that comes off, unless y'all remember, the health department parking lot is awful. I mean, literally, we've had to take up asphalt because it got so bad and put down crush and run. So I'm asking, or unless I hear different, I'm going to send Miss Hicks in the direction of resurfacing that parking lot with this CDBG grant that's going to come available when Cash Fire Truck comes off, if y'all okay with that.
Question. My understanding, there's another municipality that's interested in purchasing a fire truck through the grants. Can you meet with that mayor and discuss that?
We can, and possibly put them on the list for, the next CDBG grant that comes available.
Matter of fact, that would be the mayor of Patrick.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
We can do that. That's all I have.
Okay. Okay, any councilman comments?
I do. Shocker. I recently attended the South Carolina Association of Counties Board meeting, and I just want to give you guys an update of something we've been working on for the last year. I think all of you are familiar with the fact that if we stay with our current state insurance health plan, we're going to see an 18% increase, which kind of feels like an unfunded mandate. In response, the SCAC staff, under the board's direction and with our full support, created what we now have as the South Carolina Counties Health Trust. The purpose of that is to provide cost-effective health insurance to county employees and independents. And the goal is to give counties options and control, because right now there's one plan and that's what you get. With this, in addition to the cost savings, it comes with some flexibility, and it comes with 3 different options, because different employees have different needs. Someone younger, healthier, or anyway, you understand how different people would have different needs. And so with those 3 different options, it gives us a little bit of leverage. Lancaster and York counties are 2 of the counties right now in our region who are part of that pilot program. The full rollout is going to be opening up to all counties around the 1st of August. So I'm just asking for us to consider looking at that as one of our options. And the other update from our meeting was that the Barrett Larimore Awards that are usually done at our conference are being moved to October. And that way, I think that they'll garner more attention and have more time to really see the ideas. What this is about is different counties propose ways that they've had like cost savings, and it might be through the solicitor's office, it might be through litter pickup, it might be recycling, but counties are sharing ideas, and then there's an award given out. And usually it's done at the conference, but we're going to do it at the fall advocacy meeting. So just wanted to let you know of that change too. Thank you.
Thank you. I got a couple things. One thing I want everybody to please remember to vote. Early voting is through the 7th. And then voting is what, the 10th?
Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Everybody,
11th, next Tuesday.
please get out and exercise your right to vote. Other thing is, I would like to call a special meeting next Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. for the purpose of concerning the Capital Project Sales Tax Commission. I know that's short notice, but we're kind of under the gun with some of this, and we'd like to schedule that meeting next Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Item 18A, there is a need to go into executive session. Mr. Ruffner, would you please explain?
Yes, sir. There are 2 items there. One is pursuant to Section 30-4-70A5. That is to enter an executive session to discuss matters relating to the proposed location, expansion, or provision the provision of services encouraging the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in areas served by the county. The specific item of discussion is the Lynch's River Industrial Park potential sale of property. And then the second item is pursuant to Section 30-4-70A1, and that is to enter into executive session to discuss employment, appointment, compensation, promotion, demotion, discipline, or release of an employee. And as noted on the agenda, council may take action on either or both of those items after exiting executive session.
Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Burns, second by Mr. Conklin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. Before we go into executive session, we'll take a 10-minute break. We're now at executive session. While we're in executive session, no motions were made and no votes were taken. Now, first thing I would like to do, and I think we probably, if there's any motions or other thing we need to do, but what I would like to do in light of the fact that Mr. Eubanks is going to be retiring next year, I have been in touch with Mr. Ruffner, and he has, I think, job description, everything ready. So I'm going to, normally this would fall, search and interviews normally would fall under the rules and personnel, which myself, Ms. Anderson, and Ms. Burns are on. However, since I am retiring, I don't feel like I should be one that would help select your new administrator. So what I would like to do in that fact is I'd like to, in addition to Ms. Burns and Ms. Anderson, I'd like to appoint Mr. Ford and Mr. Smallwood to be on that search committee. So it's up to y'all, take the ball and run with it. Okay. Is there anything else?
Who is gonna be the chairperson of that committee?
Who is it? Ms. Burns, is it you or Ms. Anderson? You?
That's something they can figure out.
Yeah, but I can't remember who it is. I can look just a second if y'all want to know.
I think we flip roles.
It doesn't make any difference. Y'all-
Either one of
Now,
us,
will any other member be allowed to come?
of course.
Everybody can come.
You can come to the interview, sure. Yeah, yeah. And you'll ultimately have a vote at the end.
At the end, yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make one.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.